Hi, good morning, colleagues, professors. It's an honor to present this building, as it was an honor to get a chance to build it. This was a competition entry won, I think, six years ago, and it was built in 4.5 years, of which 3 were during COVID. Leave alone being the world's largest office building, but it has many other things which make it special for me and the Morphogenesis team. There was a lot of learning that went on, probably due to the extreme conditions in which it was built. It also had a unique client, which was a committee. So there wasn't one individual that was a client, and it was a committee of 450 diamond merchants. And usually we have one client or one project manager or one such thing. So the committee was divided into groups of 10 to 12 people, one responsible for design, one responsible for sustainability, decisions, design decisions, sustainability decisions, one was for procurement decisions, and so one was for graphic decisions. So we had many committees that we were responding to. What was incredible was that it pretty much got built, I would say 95% as the competition winning entry was. So which for any architect is a real privilege. And another fact I want to share with you, that about 2 weeks ago at a conference I realized that the projections currently for what India will be building in the next 10 years. So there are many projections. One says as the entire built up volume of US, one says this, one says that. But essentially I did a calculation that 142 such buildings would be the total amount of built up area that we are building in the next 10 years. And the reason I mention it, because when I hear figures in millions, billions and all, it doesn't connect very well. But then when I think that one office could build this building quite easily, so therefore 142 such buildings for the entire architectural community is not such a big deal. And we can do it in a sustainable way. This is sustainable, which I'll show you, but it's only the start, like much more sustainable way. We can all do this as a community over the next 10 years. This building is located in Surat. Some of you may know, there's like this gift city outside Ahmedabad, this dream city outside Surat, which had no takers. So this building acted as a seed building, because given its size and the number of people who will be working here, and the fact that 92% of all diamonds in the world will pass through this building, has already got other buildings now that have got started, hospitals and colonies and so on and so forth. So it's kind of a seed building for giving life to this Dream City project. So you can see Surat in the back, and I mean, I don't know if it was intended or not, but this picture made me think that the building has an open arm gesture towards the city. So this is the condition in which most of these traders worked before, and they got together and petitioned for a piece of land because they wanted to work in a grade A building, and this is a building owned by a cooperative. So they petitioned for a building, then they sold the entire buildings to themselves, collected the entire funding, and hence the project started, hence its ability to build absolutely uninterrupted. So in that sense, it's a building by the community and for the community. So when the competition was launched, all this was already done. Okay, 7 million square feet with high security, 65,000 people who are getting into their office in less than 7 minutes. So they had said to us 15 minutes is the time period in which all the workers arrive, but it is 7 minutes as tested now. And because the building was pre-sold, they already had a budget, and to make a building with interiors in that budget was going to be impossible. Like no amount of value engineering could have got us there. So I'll share in a little bit how it happened, because we haven't, despite COVID, despite everything, there's not been 1 rupee cost overrun. So environmental sustainability would only lead to affordability was our competition approach. So we started in reverse. So today Sanjay has shared a methodology that all of us architects use, which is taking contextual clues. This was pretty contextless area, but yes, there weren't so many clues. But what we figured was that let's start with numbers instead. So we started with numbers because the client was clear how much money they had. And we said that even if we try to do LEED Gold, which is what their intention was, we'll never meet the cost. And then we said, okay, now let's try for higher numbers and let's see what we get. So I'm happy to say that the standards have way exceeded LEED Platinum as well. But here, this is something now we follow completely in the firm. After the success of this, we call it metrics-based design. Because we were used to developer metrics where you've itna FSI jana hai, itna marketable, itna sellable, this, that or the other. But actually now we set sustainability metrics that these metrics have to be met, only then will we achieve the cost. And now we do it for as many projects as we can. Then there were other metrics, that how many people will get through, how much time from one place to the other, because one is energy sustainability, but there's also human energy. If you're going to enter a complex and take 30 minutes, 66,000 people will take 30 minutes to get to work, that's a lot of waste of energy. So there were a lot of other derived metrics, that how much time do you take to put your car there, how do you get to office, do you do any back and forth walking or do you go directly, how many times a day when you want to meet another trader, how efficiently do you get to go meet that other trader. So a lot of other metrics were put into place. Now a really simple design which is based on a vertebra, I mean it's a fish vertebra here but it can be any vertebra, really is the easiest and most efficient way of distributing resources. So that same simple model was used, and the entire central spine was a public space. That's where everybody moves, which means all your vertical transportation staircases other than the fire staircases mandated for distance, all public utilities, amenities, everything is down the central spine. So that central spine, which looks quite thin in this drawing, actually at its thinnest point is 8 meters. It is averagely about 20 meters wide, so it's like an urban space. Just the scale of it makes it look this thin. So this is the main traffic movement that could happen, and as you can see, all of it leads to just the central spine. And travel time, of course it was simulated, is less than 7 minutes for anyone to get from an entrance to their office. Simple passive strategies that I don't need to speak to this audience about, they're all well aware, but it was important that the outside spaces be usable for, because when we did the case study in Mumbai, we realized that a large amount of business, like really large amount of business, takes place in a very random sort of way, like takes place in parks, well, hardly parks actually, under trees in Mumbai, and takes place in pavements where people exchange diamonds. You get one client says, I need this, okay, wait a minute, I'm going to go get it for you, make a few calls, get it from somebody on the road, and go exchange diamonds. So a lot of deals happen outside. A lot of people who actually are not business owners but become day traders. So there's no allocation for such people. So they will be there as part of this business, and they will be in the courtyards. So therefore, at least half the courtyards are shaded. Because we thought of the spine as an urban space, so those parks and trees and gardens and benches they meet in had to be incorporated, obviously, in order for it to feel like an urban space. And there is no air conditioning, it's all naturally ventilated. So you see these green lungs, so using simple stack effect, and then the shaping led to Venturi effect to escalate the amount of wind, just to make the space comfortable. So 100% of the circulation, which in a building of this scale is about 45%, I think, if I remember correctly. So all of that is naturally ventilated. So these are some of the sections showing the internal gardens where people hang around and meet and do trading. And these are the green, shows the courtyards, which is all on the ground floor level. All the amenities are also on the ground floor level. So the dibba walas also come and deposit dibbas because food will still come from home, and that was an obvious understanding, knowing Gujaratis. And there were other amenities which are all on the ground floor, so that doing informal business is possible on the courtyards. So this is a typical plan. Different sizes of offices, varying from 300 square feet approximately to 50,000 square feet. Okay, the building sections designed in such a way that we get the 45-degree angle shading for bulk of the time in at least 4 courtyards. So the microclimate strategy was to reduce the ambient temperature by 5 to 7 degrees, and radiant cooling was used to do this. So this entire space that you see in the red spine, the whole space is radiant cooled. So now on the ground floor I was talking to you, has medical centers, travel desk, creche. So they also have their own customs facilities, security, couriering of diamonds, all of that goes on in the ground floor. Then they have basic shopping, not like shopping for outsiders to come, but for their own needs. Banks, ATMs and money transfer facilities. Then there's 10,000 meters square of food zone and pop-up cafes, al fresco dining, and also now dibbawalas. And then there are of course other attached facilities for visiting buyers, which are health club, gym, conferencing, banqueting, so on and so forth. So this is pictures of the almost finished building, maybe like a month or two before. So this talks about the entire solar shading, which I've already spoken about, the green lungs in the spine, and courtyards will take as many daily visitors, somewhat like a bazaar, inspired by how they already work. So these are some of those gardens getting planted. As I said, these pictures were about 2 months before finishing. This is the radiant cooling system which is getting put into place. So we'd been introduced to this radiant cooling system when we were working for Infosys about 10 years ago. They were trying to indigenize it, but it was still an imported system where of course it's a sustainable solution, but in the cost that we had to finish this building, 4,200 rupees per square foot, all told, finished, complete, ready to move in. It was not going to be possible to have that system, so this was indigenous system designed together with the engineering consultant. What looked in the pictures like windows actually are none of them are windows. So they are just fenestrations, of course inspired by our jalis, as most of us do in most of our buildings. So when people are moving in that urban spine, there's actually through and through cross ventilation right through. So all the holes are actually holes, they are not windows. I know because of like the reflection or the sky through or something, it sometimes looks like there's glass, but there's no glass anywhere. So in terms of client brief, whether it's small or big committee member who owns that office, they all had one vote each. So therefore, it's a level playing field. Offices had to be modular so that if somebody's business grows, they can expand, and so on and so forth. In fact, offices were assigned by a lottery system, okay? Because really there's so much to learn with their ability to self-organize, and this was part of it. So this was the problem that they set out to alleviate in making this project. So most of them who are workers and are not business owners, they would wake up at 4, get to Surat station at 5:30, get to work at 9:30, do whatever work, dibbas carried from home all the way, and get back at the Mumbai station at 6:30 to reach home by 10:30, 11, and then start next morning at 4 again. And most of them who we interviewed during the case studies didn't actually even see their families more than once a week. So this was a problem a community set out to alleviate. These were the working conditions that they worked in. And outdoor informal transactions and food was a very important component of the culture. So I think, we never got the jury comments, it was an international jury, but I think the fact that full attempt to make them corporatized was not there in our scheme. I think the absence of that was maybe one of the winning solutions. So this is the project during COVID, and why this slide is very important to me. They shut down in lockdown 1. Just as it opened, they built this colony on the left. Whilst rest of the country was seeing migrants who had to walk home for 20 days, 30 days, we all know the story, right? This site invited everyone back, full accommodation, COVID hospital, and food for everyone, including myself when I went to site, where I had to quarantine for 2 days and then be there for 1 week. That was a minimum requirement. And everyone had to eat from the same kitchen. And if you got COVID, you were treated there as well. Doctors were in-house, nurses were in-house. So this is an incredible ability. I don't know anywhere in the world for a client to self-organize because they had a dream. And I think the whole project was delayed in total with COVID and everything for 5 months from their final deadline. So, by the way, construction, what I learned here, construction labor with the level of security provided or whether it is ignorance. But they didn't believe in masking up. So this is project during construction. Site visits, ministers, everything is going on. Like it didn't stop. Maybe it also, I feel that it had the advantage of being isolated. There wasn't anything else, right? There was only this in Dream City. This is a normal COVID day. So the things that further changed during the course of the project, like we were going to use red granite from South India, ruby red, but at that time they said, look, state boundaries shut whenever, transport will become difficult. So this is a stone called Lakha red, which replaced our ruby red, and it's found in Gujarat and Rajasthan. All the interior stone other than the main lobbies was replaced with Morbi tiles. Like I'd never used locally made tiles before. So a lot of things we learned and really had to go local due to the conditions, and now it's become a way. Now that's how we work. So project starts to get lit up. And then of course there are nuances carrying over from the same holes which are now more ornamental. So this image is hiding the fire stair. This is very interesting. Surat got crazy cyclonic winds which were double the speed that ever experienced before during the course of this project, and these tall walls, 14-floor high walls, swayed a lot. And then everyone had a heart attack. And then the structural engineers sent it for some simulations, and it came back with that this crazy column is expected to stand in the middle of the 14-floor high reception. So then the entire reception was redesigned with a maritime look, and this is a water droplet. This also, it's not like an artist or anything, because no artist would come in COVID and sit here and do this. So the site contractor was given some drawings, and actually an ex-Morphogenesis architect who does product design kind of worked with us and designed this and these kind of things. So these are interesting stories for us, that how improvisation happened in difficult times. More pictures of the hold areas. So this image I really like because this is one of the reception waitings, and when you make something of this scale, like any kind of furniture just looks like not right. So this is the furniture, this is the scale of furniture that was manufactured on site, and all of this is manufactured on site. So this is the other end of the lobby with more furniture. This is the project lit up on Diwali. The reason I keep these below, because this is all during construction. And just the idea that how committed a community is why it's important that I keep it here. I can't read most of it, but these were all construction reports and images which were coming out whilst the rest of the world was at a standstill.